in life, it's just more important to feel gratified and fulfilled with what you're doing versus wanting something so bad and you don't really get that. And then it turns into like disappointment and depression and everything else. Like we don't want that. We want you to feel good about life, living life to the best of our ability. I think it starts with that.
This is All About the Song.
Welcome to the 125th episode of All About the Song. I am your host, Michael McDonnell, and thank you for joining us. On the podcast today, we have Chris Johnson, an incredible drummer who joins us from Los Angeles via Zoom. Chris has just put out a book, Pop, R&B and Gospel Drumming. It is a unique book-video combo, and it's a guide for developing grooves, improvisation, technical skills. Chris is an absolutely fantastic drummer. I've seen him play in person. It was a privilege to see how amazing he was. He performs with a crazy list of musicians, which include Stevie Wonder, Madonna, Jennifer Lopez, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Camila Cabello. I mean, the list goes on, but what a crazy lineup of artists that he plays with and seemingly concurrently plays with, which is absolutely incredible. This book is something that I'm waiting for my copy in the mail right now to check out, because after speaking to Chris, I just realized his insight on the instrument and being a musician and being a great person is going to be worth the read, and I encourage you all to do so the same. The book is available on Amazon or wherever you purchase books. It is there. I met Chris. He was performing with Lady Gaga's band. The bass player has a group called Johnny Good and the Triple O's. Lady Gaga was in town performing at Rogers Centre in Toronto, which is the stadium where the Toronto Blue Jays play. It's like 55,000 people. It's massive. And in between the two gigs, I think they played like on a Tuesday and a Thursday. On the Wednesday, they went to the Painted Lady in Toronto, which is an itty-bitty bar. And Johnny Good and the Triple O's was backed by basically Lady Gaga's backing band. And it was absolutely fantastic. My three friends, Jason Cibaroni, Juliana I, and Michael Sleeth, who's been on this podcast many times, we all went together, and it was absolutely incredible. I got to meet Chris in person. We talk about that in the podcast. It's an absolutely fantastic episode, and I encourage you to purchase the book. All About the Song is on, we're on YouTube. We're available wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you are watching on YouTube, and if you're not actually, you should subscribe, hit the notification button for more episodes. They come out every Tuesday. And now a quick word from our friends and sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Hailed, which is a coffee shop located at Yonge and Gerrard in the downtown Toronto area. If you are a coffee drinker, you must try Hailed. They are ranked consistently among the top 10 coffee houses in Toronto. Visit the store and support local Toronto-based businesses. Be sure to place your order at www.hailed.ca. This episode is also brought to you by Flickly. Thank you, Richard Atkin, friend of the podcast. We really appreciate your support for the Canadian music scene. Rich is the founder and CEO of Flickly, a premier video animation studio, working with large brands and enterprises across the globe. Learn more about Rich and his work at Flickly by going to the website flickly.com, FLIKLI.com, and connect with Richard Atkin on LinkedIn. So here we are, episode 125 of All About the Song, featuring Chris Johnson. Chris, thank you for being on the podcast, and congratulations on this book being out.
Oh, thank you. It's been a long run. It's been about I would say a 3-year process. Started in 2018. Just like, let's just write some stuff down, let's kind of get our hands up under the keyboard and like let's just jot some stuff down. Let's come up with some chapters and concepts outside of the traditional, sheet music, technical, what everybody would be used to. Like I'm a guy that's just, I haven't had any formal training, only like, self-taught, visual learner, looking at videos and stuff like that. But yeah, it was another angle to come to present to everyone, as far as education. And yeah, I just threw my rod out, like, to see what's up. And it's been pretty cool so far. Like the response has been really good.
Well, I think that, I mean, these books, these are books that I remember getting in school for artists. I remember getting, just at the beginning of my musical expedition, like if it was the saxophone or the bass clarinet, having that book that you see and read, and it's so integral, important to the start of your journey. It's got to be pretty surreal to see that now young artists are going to perhaps, begin with something that you wrote and your experience might be the entry start for young artists coming up.
Yeah, it's trippy. It's trippy, man. Like I've been getting, encouraging words like, "Wow, man, I never really looked at it that way," or, that's an angle that I really wouldn't have thought of, or people thinking, just drums. It's a technical instrument anyway because you got to use all of your limbs. It's really tough to, kind of gather information because it's a lot. I think drums are a lot. I think guitar is a lot. Just using your fingers and angling your fingers a certain way to be able to get a certain thing out of your guitar. With drums, it just comes natural. It's tough to explain. So that was a real challenge within the book. And then also, the younger generation there, I don't know how it is on that side of the world, but here, it's like it's still a competition type still with the younger generation and the older guys and then the OGs. And it's like, oh well, you're washed up now, you're old, you can't really tell us anything. Between that, trying to balance the guys that actually really want to learn and really want to be accepted into a style or styles of music, that others don't really get the opportunity to channel or to dive into. So yeah, the younger generation is mainly, they're just, it's our response. Well, I have to look at it this way. It's our responsibility to impart in them the things that will help them excel in life, first, and then, the instrument of their choice.
I think that you have a very unique style of drumming, especially because of the way you perform. You are you left-handed?
I am naturally left-handed, yeah. So I'm
Okay.
left-handed, but I play open-handed. I can know this bro, BJ. He's a right-handed player, and every time I wanted to play, I would have to play right-handed, or I would have to wait until everybody was done and then switch it to the left. And then by that time, everybody's gone and tired or whatever. So, I just had to adjust. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
I grew up, there was a drummer in my neighborhood who was left-handed, and we always remember going to the jams and he'd be like, okay, give me 18 minutes to reset everything up. And like, we're all like, yeah, I get it. You're left-handed. But then we saw a drummer, or even I grew up with a couple of guitar players that played right-handed guitars upside down. And I've learned now, like, there's also a beautiful sound and a style. And some of my favorite bass players, like Mono Neon, they play upside down, and it's so integral to their style. I think the way that you play the drums and the economy of your set is a really cool thing. And did those, because of the specific way you play, did that translate into the technique that you put into the book?
It did. I had to explain why I played open-handed. I had to explain why it felt comfortable for me. Um, I have to explain why the approach that I take, because if you think about it, once I start playing, my left hand was my strong hand, so everything was to the left. Like I had the ride was to the left, an auxiliary cymbal was to the left, any electronics was to the left. I mean, my kit really looked like offset because it was only maybe like one crash to the right in the toms.
Yeah.
So I was like, this don't even really look appealing. It don't even look right. If I'm in a studio or something like that, or just starting out, it's like, hey, like come record this song. Nobody's taking pictures. Social media wasn't really big back then. So, I was setting up how it was comfortable, but like just for looks and shows and stuff like that, it just didn't really look right. So I was like, I need to challenge myself to, adjust, like make the lead with my right hand versus my like crossing over my body to play something over to the right. So I had to, do exercises to strengthen my right hand and, you know, make things easier just to play open-handed. And it's kind of like this kind of motion. If I go around the toms, the right hand will lead and then go around and make it more comfortable. But that came over time. It took a while for that.
Well, I gotta say that something that I like about the way that your setup looks is you have and to get totally technical on this, but you have like a second snare where most people's first floor tom is, opposed to it being to the left
Yeah.
of the hi-hat. And you have these things that now, like your kit in comparison to what most people are using modern day it's very economical. Like your economy of space is very beautiful in a sense.
Yeah, I was like I was saying, I wanted to go for that look. I wanted to go with the comfortability. Like a right-handed drummer with the snare drum there, they would either have to play open-handed, which is not their typical, style, or they would have to cross.
Yeah.
And it's like you kind of playing a snare drum where the floor tom is, like you said. For me, putting the snare over to the left, I would have to cross to play it. In most cases, in some cases I do. Like I would play with, depending on the show, it'd be 3 snare drums. So, it'd be a mid-tone snare, high-tone snare, low-tone snare. Depending on the show, artist or whatever, the high or low-tone snare would be, where the floor tom is. And it's just playing open-handed. Leading with my right hand. If there's a field that I'm doing on this side, I'll just lead with my right hand. If something over here, start the field with the left, the first time, and then continue on. But yeah, man, it just became easier to me. And the more I thought about it, I probably wasn't the first one to do it. I'm not sure who the first one was, but it's just comfortable for me. I'm cool with that.
It looks cool. The only thing that, even as a air drummer, it's hard to get along when I'm watching you perform. I'm going like, oh my God, like my brain, it's like watching Carter Beauford play. And you're like, how would you ever think of doing something like that?
You got to try things out. You got to experiment. Like, let's just see what works. Let's see if it works. And now I am able to, and this is an exclusive underwire, underguarded of Chris Johnson, right? So I never really had a drum set at home. I was only really able to practice at either school or church. I couldn't play at home, so it's like if I had to rehearse a tune, I would have to wait till I actually got there. So basically, I had to literally, just listen to the song over and over and over and over and over again. So I would air drum it, like you said, air drum it until I actually got to the space, sound check or whatever we had time, and then we can run over the song. And I'd be like, oh, okay, that works for me. So that was a challenge in and of itself, with just trying to learn tunes and learn setups and doing it in a way in which it didn't take up any time. Like, we got to wait on Chris to set up his drums, for this, whatever. I had to think quickly. I had to move quickly. And I'm now having a chance to, like, set up drums. Like I'll set them up in the garage. Like, okay, this is the gig. Let me listen to the tunes. Okay, I need a high snare. Okay, I'll place this here. That's easier. One up, one down. Keep it super simple. If it's something like Lady Gaga, then it's like, okay, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18, 24-inch kick, 3 snares, an array of cymbals. Something with my band like Legally Blind, one up, one down, crash, ride, crash, one snare, just kind of, and that helps. I talk about that in the book as well, as far as the stylistic and genre awareness that you use, and the sonics of everything really, really is vital in, playing these different styles and genres. Like pop music pop music has evolved over the years to where it's a conglomerate of things. But like R&B, the Motown, that has a specific sound. Country has a specific sound. Rock has a specific sound. Indie rock, alternative rock, those are kind of different, but learning to lean on sonics first when you're listening to these songs and then pulling your style into it also helps, with playing and recognizing, these different tunes and songs and genres and stuff.
Do you look forward to, when you're doing like a Lady Gaga gig, for example, do you look forward to building a kit, like a ridiculously sized kit to take care of everything you need? Or do you prefer a smaller kit if you had your way?
Now that I'm older, I definitely prefer minimal. I would love to play as less as I can, but a lot of these shows don't allow that. So it's like, okay, let's just play what's needed, but I'll cut down the cymbal selection or something like that. But generally, I'm gonna need, let's just say Lady Gaga, I'm gonna need a 10 to start off with the poppy stuff. Like, start the 10-inch tom with the poppier stuff. The 12 and the 13 and 18-inch tom is more of the heavy. She has some arrangements, man, that's just like super dark and just grungy and like loud, grungy guitars, and it requires a big sound. So I would use those toms on those particular songs. Other songs I would use the 12 and the 16 mid-tone snare. Some universal hats I have that'll work for everything. But yeah, man, I would want to use what I need on those gigs. If it's my own thing, I would rather play the most minimal stuff ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, I wanted to ask just easily, how did you first get into the drums?
Church, bro. Church. My dad, rest in peace, was a pastor. And my mom was the first lady, and she directed the choir. So she was like the minister of music at the church. So I was already in music. And so everybody picked an instrument or something to do inside of the church, like singing, directing. BJ, after he left the drums, he went and played the keyboards. And my Uncle George was playing guitar. So that was all that we had in the church that I grew up in. And so when it was time for me to play drums, I would just go off of memory, like what I would hear. Different songs. My mom, like, she liked like old school church stuff, like Andre Crouch and the Hawkins family. You can look them up, bro. Yeah. They have gospel. It's gospel music, gospel lyrics, spreading the good news and stuff like that. But it sounded like the Beatles and the Bee Gees and, a lot of these different world bands. The music was resemblant to that, but it was more of the gospel lyrical content. Very influential, man. I used to listen to all the gospel records. It was just church. It was all church.
With the family being involved in music, I'm sure that was the opportunity to have, your whole family involved in music and to have almost like a weekly opportunity to play Was that did that allow you to kind of fast track through the progression of learning your instrument and figuring out what my role is in this?
From the first time I tried to play, and it come to it didn't become real until I actually saw another family member, one of my cousins, Dave Foreman. He was playing guitar with Boyz II Men, and I would see him like weekly or bi-weekly because my mom's dad was a pastor as well, so we would go to his church of fellowship and play over there. Um, when I saw him on stage with Boyz II Men, I was like, okay, so he made it a career. So he actually do this for real, for real. Like I can do this. I can do this. So it became more than just playing at church or at school. It was like, wow, let's do this. Like, let's do this. So that's what set the bug. That's what, I got bit by the bug and I was like, wow, I want to do this now. That's it. I want to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. When the ability, I think the fact that having church to be a constant in your life on a musical level outside of like the spiritualness and the connectivity and the community, but on a musical side, it's got to be so awesome to have the opportunity to get together every week. But where was the moment in which you branched out and maybe took a, like a gig for hire in a sense?
My cousin George Johnson, drummer. I mean, my family runs deep in music, bro. So
that's awesome.
He was playing with a gospel artist named Donnie McClurkin. And he was with Montel Jordan, which was a regular artist. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Yo, he got that gig at the peak of that song. So we was
wow.
Like, whoa, bro. Like, that was crazy. It was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. So I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is it. Let me just tap into what, everybody is doing and what's attractive to me right now is like they're playing on TV. They were on Planet Groove. They were on the hot, what is it called? It used to be a festival. It's like the Hot 100 festival. And they're playing the festival. It's like thousands of people out there. He's like playing on TV. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. So he was like, yo, my schedule is conflicting with Montel Jordan and Donnie McClurkin. So can you do this Donnie gig for me? And that was my first gig, like first gig with lights, first gig with a monitor engineer, first gig with a bass player. Like, wow. That was my first organized, like, gig, like, ever. The first time. And it was mind-blowing. I was nervous, of course. I didn't really, we had one rehearsal. I was, like, again, just listening to the music. Couldn't practice it other than, like I said, showing up to sound check. And this is crazy. So I get to sound check, and I'm not playing my own drums. We have to share a kit with the other acts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sharing a kit with the other acts means I can't move anything. So Marvin Mcquitty, again, an OG of mine, and he passed several years ago. Rest in peace to Marvin Mcquitty. I sat on his drums, and his setup was nuts, bro. It was like the first time was a 12 right in front of you. The next time, well, what would have been a tom was a snare drum. And then, like, up on a rack, like a tom, and then the 10-inch tom, 16-inch floor tom. The ride was, of course, to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I really asked was, I brought a snare drum, I brought a pedal, I brought my sticks. I said, bro, can I move the ride to the left just for my set? He was like, don't move nothing, don't touch nothing, play the snare, play everything that's up here. I swear to God, bro, he's like, don't touch nothing, just get up and play.
Wow.
We got through the gig. And again, growing up in church, that's what we did. We just adjusted to what it was. We would go to a visiting church. We couldn't switch a whole bunch of stuff around, so we just had to play it how it was. So that was familiar. It was church music, so that was familiar. So I was just leaning on those things, to help me. And the first few shows that we did, it just became natural. It was like, wow, this is cool. Like I don't even really have to think anymore. Same show over and over. And that's when I knew. I was like, wow, this is it. This is it. And then after that was more organized gigs like Maya. I did my first tour was with Anastasia. Um, wow, man, like I subbed for a bunch of guys, Patti LaBelle. Um, I did the Seal gig for a while.
Wow.
Um, Stevie Wonder, Rihanna, J-Lo, Lady Gaga. I played with Frankie Beverly and Mays. Like all different. Like all of them are different.
So do you think that getting that first gig like this, once you kind of became part of that musical community, it was kind of no different than, a tradesperson that relies on referrals to get work?
More it was a mix. A couple of those I did. And trust me, I've been through 2 auditions. I've been through the audition process. I've been through. There was one time there was an audition for who was it for? I honestly can't remember, but there were 100 drummers in a room.
Wow.
Like literally 100 drummers in a room, and the MD at the time, it was Catherine McPhee. That's who it was. Ricky Minor, the musical director, and he was like, "Yo, it's gonna be people at the show. So why would you audition in front of 2 people? Like that makes no sense. So everybody come in the room, fill out your sheet, say what instrument you play, and drummers, bro. I'm telling you, it was a bunch of drummers. It was a bunch of drummers. It was like, all right, next we have Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo will get up. He'll set up the kit like he, get comfortable. He's like, all right, play us something a little bit, play a little groove or whatever, solo. He was like, all right, let's start with the song. The click track starts. You audition the song that you got they emailed you the song first so you can kind of get familiar. Listen to 10 seconds of him playing, okay, thanks. Like quick. Boom, boom, boom. So if you were able to play a verse and a chorus, your chances were pretty good, but like 10 seconds in, people dropping sticks and fumbling over some dudes brought charts and put the charts up. It was like, trying to get it. They were, just paying attention to the charts and not really getting the gist of the song. Okay, next.
Wow.
It was like, then it comes to my turn. And I'm like, fuck. Can I say fuck?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so it was like nerve-wracking, bro. Nerve-wracking. So I didn't want to waste time moving drums. Again, I'm from church. It doesn't matter to me. I can adjust. I just got up there, adjusted my seat, maybe pushed the hi-hat back a little bit. It's like, all right, I'm ready. It's like, all right, play something. So started off playing a little whatever, ended with the, started off. It was like, all right, cool. It's like, all right, let's go with the song. I was able to get through to the second course, and I saw him pass my paper to the next side of, there was a pack, the small pile, and then there was a big pile. So it's like, pass it to the small pile. I was like, all right, cool. So he walked over to me. He was like, hey, just stick around. We're probably going to get through this process pretty quickly today. So just, go take 20, 30 minutes and, we'll call you. It's like, cool.
Wow.
Been through that kind of process. And I've been through a process of like, hey, what are you doing for the next 3 months? It's like, I'm not sure. Like, what's up? Well, we're about to start this tour with Rihanna. Can you get to rehearsal on Monday at 12? Be like, yeah, you got some music? Yeah, I'll email it to you. Those type of scenarios. So I've been through a few different scenarios to where it's like, okay, like if it's for me, it'll be for me. If it's not, then cool. Like, but just to love to play, I think is enough to be able to say that you're touching lives in a positive way, even through music, I think that's enough. We have to get to that point. Get to the point to where it's like, if I'm not on the big stage, I'm cool. Uh, I'll share this small story with you. Um, I got an Uber one time, and I'm just me, bro. Like, I got on my shades, I got on my hat. I got. I think we were in Vegas. I'm on my way to a restaurant by myself. I don't care. Like, I'll go eat by myself. I go to movies by myself. I walk the mall by whatever. So I am sitting in the back of the Uber. The dude is like, he's like, okay, you look like you're in the entertainment industry. I don't know how he could tell. I just look like a regular, whatever. He said, what do you do? I said, I'm a drummer. He's like, I'm a drummer. I was like, what? Like, really? Like, where do you play? He was like, oh, I don't really play too much anymore. I have a drum set. It's collected dust, and I don't really play. I don't have the time. I said, why don't you have the time? He was like, well, I drive Uber, and I work at 2 jobs, blah, blah, blah. I said, do you get any time for yourself? He was like, well, yeah, I do. Usually I'll just try and rest or whatever. I said, why don't you set the drums up at the end of a long day and just play? Like, you don't have to be an A-list drummer to enjoy playing drums, right? You don't have to be an A-list drummer to be and feel gratified and fulfilled with life itself. Like, if I didn't play on these stages, and I know it sounds weird because I've played on a bunch of big stages, but if I don't ever get to do that anymore, I'll be okay. Because I could still play drums. I could still let off that steam. I could still, feel good about, playing some music. That's enough. Excuse me, that's enough. And when it comes to music and playing, I think some of us should just feel good enough to just play and express, to let off, and feel better. It lets off those endorphins that makes you feel good, puts you in a good mood. Like, you're not angry or mean because you were able to let off, like any instrument. Like, I was able to play today. It felt great.
Yeah.
If we could get to that point, as a collective, as a community, I think it'll all be better. I think the hardest part is just understanding, like, wow, even with COVID, it's like, we may not ever get to those big stages again. So what now? Like, I have to feel gratified with something or doing something or how I'm doing it. I can't just lean on this by itself, So I said that to say, in life, it's just more important to feel gratified and fulfilled with what you're doing versus wanting something so bad, and you don't really get that. And then it turns into like disappointment and depression and everything else. Like, we don't want that. We want you to feel good about life, loving life, living life to the best of our ability. I think it starts with that.
Well, that's a fantastic way to look at it. And this year for me, that's been a big thing because the opportunity to do a live stream or to, be inside a venue to perform a couple songs or something, even if the venue's empty, those moments for me were the most fulfilling of 2020, musically at least. I would have been at the same, even if it was a small club and if it was half full, I'd be like, it's half full. And now there's just a cameraman being like, okay, we're ready to record the live stream. And it's like, I walked off stage and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I played a stadium right now. And because I only got to do it, so infrequent this year. I only got to play a couple of shows and they were just so meaningful for that reason.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's great. It's great. I've been in production a lot, like producing my own records and, partnering with some other people and producing records and stuff and diving into the engineering and, mixing and miking my own drums and coming up with the sounds and all of that stuff. Like, it's been great. It's been really cool. Like playing, I haven't really played or stretched out other than like the NAMM performance I just did. I had to practice for that one because it was like, some challenging music. I can play the Willie Nelson stuff all day and feel cool. Some James Taylor stuff and be cool. Some regular recording stuff and be cool. I don't have to, feel like I have to show off and do all of that stuff for people anymore. Like I'm super over that. I'm cool with being me. I'm cool with being me, bro. And just like you said, between the cameraman or crew or whoever's there, and the performance is sweet, like the band sounds great, sonically it sounds good. It's like, wow, this is what I want to do. Like this is why I do it.
Well, that's I think it's really inspiring to hear. But it is interesting because I think at the beginning of the lockdown, my thought is that everyone's going to come back to performing and be such a aficionado at their instrument. And the first time anyone get a solo, it'd be like, hey, check out all this new cool shit I learned over quarantine. And you're just like, wow. But I think now what's started to happen is perhaps that would have been what it would happen or have happened if it was a 3-month long process. I think now people are finding their groove, their like self groove. And instead of getting to 10 out of 10 maximum, I think people are enjoying, getting to that like that steady speed, like hitting cruise control almost, and finding the groove in the band and being more appreciative of not having to be, maximum energy for an entire show. You can have more appreciation for the music.
Yeah, it's definitely that as well, for sure. I don't know about the soloing part. It's like, look what I learned. I'm like that dude that be at the concerts and be like, yo, check out this song I just did the other day. Like, it had you some headphones. Like, here, check this out.
Well, now, Chris, you're going to be performing on a Lady Gaga show and you're going to do something. And there's going to be a couple nerds in the nosebleed being like, hey, that's the fill from page 36.
Right. And I'm going to be like, I don't even know what's on page 36. Like, but I feel you. Like, I appreciate that. And I've been asked questions like that too. It's like, what was that fill you played on? Yada, 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 yada. What was your, what did you channel to be able to play that? And I just be like, I play off a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a feeling, bro. Like, I don't know if I'm able to duplicate things that I play. I have some signature patterns and things that I do, but like generally, if I'm checked out, like if my mind is somewhere else and I'm just playing there, like play it back, like and then I try and duplicate it. It's like I don't even know how I did that. Like honestly, like not to be like that, but that's just how I'm wired. That's how I was raised and everything. It's like I play off a feeling.
Well, I'm sure you've been to drum seminars and stuff, and I went to one in particular, and every person in the room, the drummer's performing and playing his solo pieces and stuff, and then, somebody raises their hand and goes, "Hi, I'm Philip Smith. I've been a drum educator for the last 15 years," and yada yada yada, and then they ask a question about the way that they, did a drum roll throughout their whole set, or something like hit all the drums, and then the drummer looks at the person and goes, I put my right hand in front of my left hand, and it's like I don't know what you were looking for. It's just like after a while, there's no way to like psychoanalyze a drummer more than they're just feeling it, putting one hand in front of the other.
Yeah, I see guys transcribing like actual solos, like they would do a video, side by side video, and play the exact same thing. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? Like, that's puzzling to me. Puzzling. But everybody's different. Everybody's skill set is different. And their angle, the way they see it, is different. Like, there's nothing else you could say about it.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you have played, and I think at certain times you've played with so many A-list artists concurrently that I wouldn't even want to understand how your travel schedule works. But I do want to ask about performing with Stevie Wonder and how that was.
Okay, that's a good story. So I'm sitting on my couch and literally I sitting on my couch. I'm not even really sure what I was doing at the time. Um, but I was at home and drummer Teddy Campbell called me. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I was like, "I have church or whatever, but like, what's going on?" He said, "I need you to get on a plane tonight to New York and do the Stevie Wonder gig." And I was like, "Stevie Wonder, like the real Stevie Wonder, like the dude." He was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have Nate Watts call you. He's gonna sing you the music, and just try and pack a quick bag real quick and get to the airport if you can." Like, boom. So he sends me the music. I download the music onto my. I had an iMac, like one of the first ones that came out, and pulled the iMac out and playing with headphones, listening to the album Natural Wonder. So he did a live album. It's like 30 something songs that I had to kind of learn to be able to do this gig. So I land, it was a red eye. So I land in New York at 6 a.m., get to the hotel, quick nap. I meet Teddy for breakfast and Nate for breakfast, introduced. He was just like, yeah, just stick to the script. Don't try and overdo it. Just play the song, blah, blah. Again, I had to play Teddy's drums because they were already there.
Yeah.
After breakfast, he went to the airport. I went back to the hotel, listened to the music some more, went to rehearsal, and nobody, including Stevie, said one word to me. Like nothing. Just started playing. Just started playing music. I believe he started playing Giant Steps.
Wow.
I'm not even a jazz player, bro. I'm not even a jazz player. He wants to play Giant Steps, and I heard the song maybe once or twice. So we played it through a couple of rounds, and he's soloing the first 3 rounds, and then he starts calling out instruments to solo, or like a full phrase of Giant Steps. So it got to me, and I was just like, I don't know, I'll just try my luck on some stuff. And then everybody kind of like turned to me and was like, all right. Like one of those. And then Stevie was like, all right, let's take a break. So we played for like 20 minutes, like just straight up 20 minutes. And, some of the guys got up, went outside, went to the bathroom, smoke break or whatever. And the way the drums were was like right behind the piano. So I had to pass the piano to get out. And Stevie was still at the piano. And so Nate was like, hey, Steve, this is Chris Johnson. He's playing drums with us. He just put out his hand like this. And I went to shake his hand. I was like, hey, man, pleasure to meet you. Like, this is incredible. Like, I don't really know what to say, but, thanks for the opportunity. He was like, hey, man. He was like, let's just loosen up, be yourself, like, stick to the music, and we'll be fine. Let's just have fun. And then the rest was history. Like,
oh, it's amazing.
It felt like I just needed to hear that from him because I'm not gonna lie, I was super nervous. Like that was freaking Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
So super nervous, super on edge, like, damn, how am I gonna do this? Like, how am I gonna, like, if I fall, like if I do something silly or like, it'd be like, oh yeah, that was the guy that went to New York and jacked up with Stevie Wonder. Like, that's what have been my name,
Yeah.
But Stevie did a few small tours, like 2-3 month tours, but a lot of sporadic dates. So I was able to do other gigs in between that. Like I remember flying to London to do the Diamond Jubilee with Stevie. The very next weekend, Rihanna rehearsal started for her tour. So I just kicked it in London for a week with some peeps and then went to, talk to both management teams like, hey, I only did a one-way flight to London. The return flight, can I just use that as to put me up at a hotel? For the next gig that starts like literally 5 days later, Then I called Rihanna's manager, was like, I will already be in London. So just give me, just buy me out for that whatever flight. And I can use that as like per diem while I'm in London. Things like that. They just happen to work out like that. I'm very fortunate, bro. It's super, super. It's one of those things that's like, that's not believable. Like, people wouldn't let you do that. Like, why? How could these camps do that? Like, they wouldn't let you do. They wouldn't let me do that. It's like, I just kept it honest. I kept it integral. I was upfront with everybody, all parties involved, and they was like, cool. So,
Well, that's awesome, and it's a great lesson to learn too, is to be upfront, because I'm sure that, Rihanna being the second thing, I'm sure they were excited that you were already there, not that you're flying in last minute or something. Like, it works to your advantage that you're prompt in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was that guy too. And I learned over the years as well. It's like double booking. I just learned maybe in the last 4 or 5 years that I get anxious. I have anxiety. So I cannot be late. I can't rush. I don't like to rush. I don't like to be surprised with things. Like, so if rehearsal starts at 12, I'm going to be there at 10:30. I'm going to set up my drums and make sure they're comfortable, they sounding good, I'll tune them. And then I'll go take a break for an hour. Go take a walk, or read a book, or go get a coffee, or, something like that, listen to the music while I'm waiting, get back around 11:30. The cats are kind of coming in. It's like, oh, Chris is already set up. He's already this, he's already that. He's prepared, because I don't like to, remember being late for a rehearsal one time. And it was just the most nerve-wracking thing ever. And my performance that day was terrible, because I was just rushing, and I was like, where's my ears? I left them in the car. Fuck. Like, I gotta run my car, go get my ears, that type of thing. I don't like that. So I have to be prepared so that my anxiety doesn't, get triggered with anything. And so that's why I was just like, let me just call everybody, make sure it's cool. So they'll be like, hey, we're at the airport in LA. We're about to take off to go to London. Where are you? Oh, I'm already in London. Oh, why didn't you tell us? We could have, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, so. Totally. Being a professional.
Basically, yeah.
So I've seen you perform with Lady Gaga in New York City. There was a ballroom, and I'm losing the name. I can't remember the name of it. But there was a ballroom out behind Ed Sullivan Theater, and they did the last 7 shows before it closed. I don't know if you were on the gig or not, but I saw the performance, and you might have joined the band soon after. But what was amazing is we did like a group of friends of mine. We did like a pilgrimage to see Lady Gaga perform at a theater so that we could see the band. We wanted to see like the raw performance, and it was absolutely incredible. What was it like to join Lady Gaga's team and perform with her?
You're not gonna believe me, man. I'm trying to tell you. Okay, here's this story. So Tim Stewart, the guy who plays guitar with her, grew up with Tim. I've been knowing Tim for, over 20 years almost. He calls me up. He's like, yo, what's up, bro? Good to hear from you. Happy New Year. What are you doing the next month? And I was like, I actually don't have anything on the schedule. I was really just going to be home and kind of getting things together at the house. It's not whatever. Why, what's up? He said, okay, so Lady Gaga's doing a Superbowl, and do you think you want to, do this gig? You think you want to help us out? And I was like, the Super Bowl? Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So I'm telling you, it's not believable, bro. It's like crazy. So January 1st, I actually did a New Year's Eve show with Neo in Atlanta on the 31st. I flew home on the 1st. It's like, all right, this guy's going to call you. He's going to get your drums. He's going to get what you need, whatever. Rehearsal starts on the 2nd. So get to rehearsal. I'm not expecting her to show up at all. Like I'm the new guy. Like I'm literally hours new to this gig. I'm getting vetted by the MD. Usually I don't trust recommendations from anybody else, but we'll see how this works out. Shit like that. I'm like, whoa, like what is going on here? Like we're just playing music. I didn't think it was, like a, life or death type situation. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So we get playing, I'll get some head nods from him. He's like, okay. Then all of a sudden, Lady Gaga walks in, boom. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Like this is it right here. Like I'm only 3 hours in the gig. Lady Gaga's here. She's like, all right, let's just hear something. We start playing. She gets up on her seat. And she kind of stands in the middle of the floor, vibing with everybody. And then she kind of looks over at me and she starts nodding, and then she starts walking closer and closer to the drums. Like she's getting closer and closer and closer. And then she just busts out in choreography, just like boom. Like right in front of the drums, like boom, 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 doing choreography. She was like, yeah. I like this. It sounds good. What's your name? It's like, Chris. It's like, pleasure to meet you. Glad you're here. Like, this is gonna be fun. Like, we're playing a fucking Superbowl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cool. And I was like, that was it. Like, I'm good. I don't have to like try and overdo anything. I'm like, I'm good. I mean, I will say that my main focus on that gig was I don't want it to sound bad, but I wanted to literally smash the drums so hard to where nobody could say anything to me. Like to make no corrections, to make nothing. Just I wanted to play everything perfect, but along with my style, like just keeping it 100. I'm playing hard. Like the first couple of days after those rehearsals, my hands were like sore. Like I had to go to a higher grade of sticks. Like I was just like, that was my main focus. I want to smash everybody over the head, period. So they don't have anything to say. She comes over to me. She's like, you know what? I'm having trouble deciding whether we should do Jets or new song for the Super Bowl. And she said, Chris, what do you think? And I was like, me? She was like, yeah, what do you think? I said, well, Just Dance was probably your biggest hit to date. Like you sold millions of that song. To play a new song, to replace that, that new song would have to be just as big, if not bigger. She was like, I like that. She was like, I like that you told the truth. Like, I like that. And we put Just Dance in the set. Like, so I was like, I felt comfortable right away, in a nutshell. It was very comfortable and chill. I knew the guys I was playing with were super cool. So it was 2017 Super Bowl 51 with Lady Gaga. That was my first gig with her. It's crazy.
Wow. That's
Crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah, bro.
So on that, you did a stadium tour with Lady Gaga. You did a show in between stadium gigs in Toronto at a club called The Painted Lady, backing up Johnny O and the Triple Zeros.
Yeah, Johnny, yeah.
I was there. I was at that concert.
What?
Yes.
Wait a minute. That's the night I DJ'd.
Did you really? That night got a little hazy.
Well, it wasn't. I didn't have turntables or anything, but it was just like an iPad.
Yeah.
And we just got so cool with the bartenders, and we're buying up the bar, right? And so I was like, can I play some music? They was like, yeah. So I came behind the bar, and she was like, here's the Spotify list, whatever. She's like, just go song to song. I literally DJ'd till like 2 a.m. off of an iPad.
Oh, that's
after
amazing.
That show. That was crazy.
I
remember that. That was cool.
That was a really cool show, and we loved it because it was 2 of my other friends, Juliana and Jason. They came with me, and they had been on the trip where we had driven to New York to see Lady Gaga perform. So, and Juliana lived next door to the club, so we were laughing, thinking like we did this we drove 10 hours to see this band play, and now they're playing next door in this 70-person club, and it was just like the most surreal experience. And you guys
It
were
was dope.
amazing.
I'm gonna tell you how much I love that night. We walked 5 doors down. Like, you walk out the club, there's like a Korean, not barbecue, but it's like a Korean spot. It's like a Korean fusion spot. They had wings and all kinds of stuff. They stayed open super late. I went to that place every day we were there. Like, every day. I was like, I'm going here. Don't matter. If y'all want to go, I don't care. I'm going. Let's go.
That's
every
so
night.
funny.
It was cool. It was cool. Man, I remember that night. Thanks for bringing that back, bro.
No worries.
That was cool. Yeah.
It was a fantastic experience for us. It was amazing also, it was just cool to see that this band that have a day off in between stadium gigs is playing. Like, that was such a cool thing, because it's like if anybody doesn't need to play another show in this city, it's this band, and they are. And it was fantastic to see, because you guys were on stage, obviously very different environment, playing a club to a stadium, and you guys were killing it. And it was so much fun to just see you guys, like, you know, laughing, grabbing another round of drinks, but also like looking at each other, and like you were playing to everyone, but you're playing with each other and just like trying stuff, and you're going, okay, you solo, and it was just loose, but it was fantastic to watch professional musicians at the height of their craft, in the peak, like, you know, doing one of the biggest gigs in the world at a club, having fun, having drinks, letting loose.
Yeah. So fun, bro. So fun. It was a pleasure, man. That was a night. That was a good night. I do remember that. That was a good night.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I really appreciate it. To everybody listening, go check out Chris's book, especially if you're getting into drums or you want to advance what you're working with already. It's a fantastic book. And Chris, what's next for you?
Music. I have music coming out. I'm working out the kinks. Of course, I am creative. Like, I'm behind the creative everything of this album. So I want it to be good. It'll be a debut album for myself. So as a producer as well as artist, but more instrumental, maybe some singing, some lyrics or whatever, but it's some good stuff. Real groove. It's all groove stuff. No fusion or jazz or nothing like that. It's just like straight up groove, feel good music that everybody can listen to. Hopefully everyone that hears it can hear where I'm coming from, like, can hear my heart, you know, my experiences and things that I've been through. And hopefully we're looking at the first quarter. It's already done. It's just all the logistics and everything. I want to release it independently. I don't really want to sign with anybody. I'm doing just fine without a deal. Like, I don't want to sign my creative anything away to anybody so they can control it. I would not like that. But to go back to the book, it's more than just drums. Like, there are a bunch of life hacks in there as well, like, for anybody. And a lot of the things that I talk about in the book apply to any instrument, really. I just happen to be a drummer, you know. So the book is out. It's available on Amazon as well. Music will be forthcoming very, very soon. If you don't have my tags or anything, Instagram is at Johnson Out. Twitter is at Johnson Out. I'm on Facebook, Johnson Out fan page. I would love to keep in touch as well, and maybe we can work on some music or do some collaboration. I see Juliana's pictures have a couple of keyboards in there, like, so maybe we can get some stuff popping, you know? Like, let's make music. Let's make music and put it out. You know what I mean? Let's create something. Let's not overthink it. And let's put it out. Like, what's the harm? What's the worst can happen?
I'd like to thank Chris for being on the podcast. You will be sure that I will be hitting him up again for another episode, a jam. Maybe if he's in Toronto or I find myself in LA, we'll get to do a podcast post-pandemic in person, and I'm looking forward to the day that happens. Again, be sure to purchase Chris's book, Pop, R&B and Gospel Drumming. It's available everywhere. And if you have any questions, comments, or a suggestion for a guest you'd like to hear on the podcast, send us an email, allaboutthesongpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are there. Please rate and subscribe. And we are on YouTube at the Sounds Like Songs Network. Be sure to subscribe. We have a sister podcast called Everything But the Song, which features stories of artists doing everything except for what they do is playing music. It's the backstory, and it's to get the idea of who the true artist is at heart. And it's a fantastic podcast hosted by Tal Weisman. So for Chris Johnson, I'm Michael McDonnell. Episode 125 is in the books. We'll see you next week.